Horizon Gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is History of England Explained in 12 minutes by the channel Captivating History. Yeah, I think, just few months ago, I had no idea about history of England. I just knew England was powerhouse. Before that, didn't know much about it. Well, as soon as I started to, reacting to lots of, British England videos, I think I have somewhat idea, but still there is going to be details that I don't know about. But I think I know, I think first there was, Celtics, I guess. Anglo-Saxons came, Vikings came, obviously Normans came, William the Conqueror of Normandy, and that's the monarchy lineage that is today. And most of the British people, I think third of them can trace their blood back to William the Conqueror or something. So yeah, I know some about it, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be detailed. I wanted to react to a video like this for a long time, so yeah. Alright people, remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction today. There's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cards for all the playlists. Check out the end cards. And yeah, let's watch this one.
This video is brought to you by Captivating History. The history of England is one of invasions, cultural revolution, and change. When the Ice Age ended and the sea levels rose, the low-lying land of modern-day England was swamped, creating an island. It was first inhabited by modern humans during the Upper Paleolithic period, but took its name from the Angles, a Germanic tribe from the Anglia Peninsula who settled there in the 5th and 6th centuries. The Iron Age followed the Ice Age, when hunting continued as a source of food, but farming technology developed, allowing the nomadic peoples to create settlements, and early farmsteads began to appear on the landscape. Named due to the use of bronze and copper to create tools, weapons, and decorative items by people's nose.
Yeah, farming was really one of the key points that, made humans more, made them more into, civilized colonies. Because now they don't have to constantly be on the move and hunt. They can farm. And whoever owns the most farms is kind of the richest guy there is. So that he becomes a king. And that's how all the towns and things started.
Known as the Celts, the Bronze Age existed from 2500 until circa 800 CE. It was during this period that large stone meeting places, or henges, such as Avebury and Stonehenge, were constructed.
Stonehenge is awesome. At first, people thought that those are just some stones, just some decorative things that people did. And people thought they are so massive and they're constructed like this. That's the best thing about it. But as years went by, people start to realize, wait a minute, this is not just some stones. This is kind of a functioning observatory that can predict eclipses. I read a book a long time ago. It was called Stonehenge Decoded. Who Hawkins, some kind of, I don't know the name, so something like that. So, I read the book and that was just so awesome to realize that these are not just stupid stones. In my school, lots of kids, just like, yeah, the pyramids were so advanced and this Stonehenges were just some stones that they were heavy, but just people put together like that. I love to, take them down at the time because I read the book like this is some serious advanced level observatory that can predict eclipses at that time. Are you kidding me? Best thing about this is these are so heavy, and the way they constructed it, people like how the hell they did that. But slowly people are starting to realize that they brought the stones from the far distances. It's not local stones. They've brought the stones from the far distances through river. They constructed it here. This is just awesome.
Eventually, the Celts came to the attention of the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar,
who
sent a military expedition to England in 55 BCE. But failed to conquer it. The Romans succeeded in 43 CE, when Emperor Claudius successfully led an invasion, and they ruled England as a colony for the next 600 years. They brought with them elements of their own civilization. They constructed roads and cities, with forums, baths, aqueducts, and theaters. Traders and craftsmen arrived, and the Anglo-Roman population grew. In 120 CE, Emperor Hadrian commissioned a massive wall between England and Scotland to dissuade attacks from the Picts and Scots. Known as Hadrian's Wall, it marked the northern border of the Roman Empire. As the empire began to crumble, troops were withdrawn from England to defend Rome. But in 410 CE, it fell to a Visigoth army, and England was left to defend itself.
Yeah, the Romans took control of England at one time. So, are there Roman type buildings in England? I mean, not proper Roman type buildings that we see, Rome and even in somewhat Greece or somewhere. There were Roman type this type of the image that type of building. Is there any building like that still there in England? Because that would be awesome. Like, look at that, Romans were here.
40 years later, around 450 AD, Vortigern, a local ruler, invited Danish mercenaries to defend his area of England from attacks led by the Picts and Scots.
That means he didn't leave.
The Danes turned on their host and established the first Saxon kingdom of England. Other mercenary groups invaded, resulting in the establishment of a patchwork of rival Saxon and Anglo kingdoms that were continually at war. These rivalries were known as the Dark Ages, a period where Anglo-Saxon art and literature, inspired by Christianity, became refined. This period was violently ended by the constant invasion of Viking armies, who established settlements and took over Saxon kingdoms. Eventually, after many battles, the separate kingdoms were unified under the reign of Aethelstan, and a united England was created. In 1066, on the death of Edward the Confessor, 3 men vying for the English crown.
There you
Harold
go.
I, the man who took the throne, Harold Hardrada, king
And
of Norway, and William
there
of
you go.
Normandy. This rivalry led to 2 invasions. Harold I defeated the Viking army at Stamford Bridge, but was defeated himself at Hastings by William, who on Harold's death crowned himself king on Christmas.
Hold up there. Did this guy just took an arrow to his throat? Damn.
Himself at Hastings by William, who on Harold's death crowned himself king on Christmas Day 1066. To control the defeated Saxons, William gave
Yeah, William the Conqueror. I think he changed the British history completely. Today, I think the monarchy line that we have today is can trace back to him. I think it's his line. So yeah, like I said, I think third or somewhat of entire British population, his bloodline can be traced to him. So when he came to power, he was really brutal. I mean, he just went to villages and gave lots of lands and things to his followers. Anybody who revolted, he just brutally murdered them, and it was really heavy thing. I love CGP Gray's video. I think I reacted to it, where he went to old city of London, Londinium, where it was just covered in massive walls. So he left them alone, but then he built other walled cities around it and something like that. That was so awesome.
Vast tracts of land to his own lords and constructed a number of large stone castles. To raise money, he instructed that a detailed inventory be taken of all English lands, an undertaking that became the Domesday Book. William was succeeded by King John, who, believing he was above the law, forcefully took what he needed from the people. However, the barons disputed his demands, and in 1215 they presented the king with an ultimatum, a document that became known as the Magna Carta. The year after its signing, King John died, and in 1216 his son, the 9-year-old Henry, inherited the crown. During the next 100 years,
9-year-old, come on.
England was scourged by the plague, known as the Black Death, and responsible for killing 1/3 of the population. In 1485, when Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field, the Tudor dynasty began. Henry VII ruled wisely, but after his son Arthur was killed, he decreed that his younger son, also called Henry, should marry Arthur's widow Catherine. The wedding followed his and his son, the 18-year-old Henry VIII's, subsequent coronation. After 20 years of marriage and 1 daughter, Mary, Henry divorced Catherine, as she had not produced a son. To ensure the divorce, he broke with the Catholic Church and declared himself to be the head of the Church of England. In 1533, he married Anne Boleyn.
So Henry VIII just wanted to marry someone else, so he broke to the Catholic Church and created his own church. That's just...
This marriage resulted in another daughter, Elizabeth. 3 years later, he had Anne tried for treason. She was executed at the Tower of London in 1536. Henry VIII married 6 times. During his 3rd marriage to Jane Seymour, he fathered a son named Edward. Jane died shortly after her son was born. In 1547, Henry himself died, and Edward, who was 9 years old, inherited the crown. But when he died, aged just 15, the crown passed to his cousin, Jane Grey, who was forcibly deposed after just 9 days by Mary, Edward's elder half-sister, who wanted England to revert.
Oh yeah, I see that, in CGP Gray's video where he's like, the kid went just ballistic and gave throne to someone else, but then his elder sister just like, hell no, just murdered and took the throne.
To Catholicism. She died childless in 1558, leaving Elizabeth to become queen. Under Elizabeth I, the navy, established by Henry VIII, developed into England's major form of defense and became the means by which England explored, colonized, and traded around the globe.
Their biggest strength,
In
apparently.
a prosperous period called England's Golden Age. Elizabeth never married. Dying, she indicated she wanted James VI of Scotland to succeed her. So, in 1603, James VI of Scotland became James I of England. His personal deaths and Catholic baptism were the sources of some dissension and gave rise to the infamous assassination attempt known as the Gunpowder Plot. His successor and son,
What?
Charles, took to the throne in 1625. He believed God had created him king, and due to that belief, he did not trust the English Parliament. And between 1629 and 1640, he dismissed it, choosing to rule by
Of course
royal
he did.
decree, a situation that led to the English Civil War. Charles I was tried and found guilty of treason on January 26, 1649, and beheaded. The war ended
What?
when Cromwell's parliamentarian New Model Army defeated King Charles II's royalists at the Battle of Worcester on 3 September 1651.
One would think that civil war would have been end of the monarchy. How did the monarchy survive after that? I mean, usually in any country, things like this happens, and that's the time we hear, yeah, that was the time monarchy ended and republic started.
Charles was exiled, and the monarchy was replaced with the Commonwealth of England and then the Protectorate under the personal rule of Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell died in 1658,
Oh
and
yeah.
his son, Richard, became Lord Protector, but he lacked his father's talents. In May 1659, he resigned, and Parliament arranged for Charles II to take the
Oh yeah, one of the videos I saw that briefly touched this. Yeah, this did happen. I mean, the monarchy was ended for a bit, and then some other bloodline from the monarchy came back and took it back. I guess it was something like that.
throne. In 1685, when the Catholic James II took the throne, several English politicians objected and wrote to William of Orange, a popular Protestant who had married James II's daughter. He accepted the offer and landed at Brixham on November 5, 1688, and began a march on London. Before he arrived, James II fled to France, and William was crowned on April 21, 1689, alongside his queen, Mary II. The couple ruled jointly until Mary's death in 1694. William lived on for 10 years, dying in 1702, when Mary's sister, Anne, ascended to the throne. When Anne died in 1714, the Georgian period began, named after the 4 Hanoverian Georges, and includes the short reign of William IV. It is a term used to describe the social and political history, architecture, and fashions between 1714 and the 1830s. A period of the start of the Industrial Revolution that began around 1769 and lasted into the 1840s.
I played the Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where they capture the Industrial Revolution area in the London. It's just ridiculous how the London looked at the time. All those chimneys and smoke and all the factories around. It was really a live place. Obviously, it's still today, but at that time it was just different.
That helped to make England one of the richest countries in the world. However, it was also the period when England lost control of its American colonies. When Queen Victoria came to the throne in 1837, aged 18, she was the ruler of Great Britain, Canada, Australia, India, New Zealand, and parts of Africa. Her rule heralded an unprecedented series of inventions and discoveries. When she died in 1902, her reign had seen the invention of steam power, industrialization, and major advancements in the arts. The 20th century began with
steam engine trains. That's really massive thing in advancement of England. That helped everywhere, even in India. So those trains were a really big thing. So it was under her rule, huh?
With the death of Victoria, succeeded by her son Edward. Edwardian England was a period of decadence and enjoyment. However, his reign only lasted 9 years. He died in 1910 and was succeeded by his son George V. The causation of the First World War, 1914 to 1918, was long and protracted, as each European country found themselves dragged into the conflict after Germany declared war on Russia on the 1st of August 1914, and on France 3 days later. On the 4th of August, Britain too declared war.
I'm not gonna lie, World War One and World War Two, even both of them, there was just few decades difference, but both World Wars would have been really weird for England, because at that time, for centuries, England was untouchable, was too powerful, and this time, German came with the U-boats, the British Navy, the main power of them just became kind of loose, because U-boats can just destroy ships without anybody can see them. So that was really damn scary. Obviously, Britain in the end, pummeled Germans in the naval area, and they stopped attacking there. But still, that was scary. People, Germany bombed London with the blimp in World War II, World War One, and World War II. Obviously, entire London, every place around it was getting bombed. People just went, underground in the metros. So, for centuries, Britain was so untouchable. Anybody attacking, bombing London would be just, unthinkable. Like, nobody would do that. And it happened in World War One and World War Two. It must have been surreal.
When it ended in 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, it had been the deadliest conflict in human history. As an outcome of the war, some women who had worked at jobs usually filled by men were granted the vote in 1918, whilst all women gained the same voting rights as men in 1928.
Okay, so that's how it happens. Yeah. So for years, women were like, oh, you are nothing. You are just, just stay in kitchen and things like that. World War One came, all the men went to the war, and women started to go outside and actually went to the factories and did jobs. And women were like, what is this bullshit? We can't do this. We can do all of this. Men were just, suppressing us for so long. We want voting rights. So in the end, that helped that. So equal rights, because imagine if World War, I know this is a bit far out to think. I mean, it's not the only reason it could have happened. Eventually it might have happened. Equal rights for women, that might have happened eventually. But imagine there was no World War and women still didn't get vote today. How weird the world would have been. Like, yeah, men get sword, women don't get sword, no equality. How weird would that be?
Post-World War I England underwent a period of unrest when different industrial workers went on strike for better working conditions and higher wages, leading up to the General Strike of 1926, which was followed by a financial crash known as the Depression. In January 1936, King George V died and was succeeded by his eldest son, Edward VIII. However, Edward had fallen in love with a divorced American woman, Wallis Simpson. Even in the 30s, a member of the royal family was not allowed to marry a divorcee. And as Edward refused to break off his relationship, on December 11, 1936, he abdicated, passing the crown onto his brother. War broke out again in 1939, when England stood firm against the aggression of Nazi Germany. It ended in 1945, and the reconstruction of London and England began. In 1951, the Festival of Britain was staged to celebrate national recovery. The 1960s saw a huge social and sexual revolution with the invention of the pill, and when groups such as the Beatles led youth culture and swinging London led the world in fashion trends. It also saw great technological advances, such as the moon landing, supersonic flight, the joining of the EEC, and the establishment of London as a global financial center. However, as the 20th century came to an end, England's power began to wane. Where its future and global position in the 21st century lies, only time will tell. If you want to learn more about English history, then check out our book, History of England.
Yeah, I mean, in the latest time, people think the Britain's weak. It's not as strong as it used to be. Obviously, when you compare it to the past, when it controlled a third of the world, obviously Britain is not as powerful as that. But Britain is still powerful. There are lots of countries under Britain. Britain is still powerful today. I mean, people like, Britain is not what it used to be. It's not. No, it's really powerful enough. Let's just say. I mean, there are lots of countries that are under it, like Canada, Australia. There are lots of Commonwealth country too. I didn't even know, but India is a Commonwealth country apparently. So Britain is not weak; it's really powerful. But Britain being the in the stock market, Britain being the center. Is Britain? I'm confused in that front. Is Britain the center, or is the Wall Street from New York is center? What is or maybe the both are the centers? Who the hell knows? So yeah. That was History of England in 12 minutes. Yeah, that kind of clear things up. 80% of those I already knew because I've reacted lots of videos in the past, especially from CGP Grey and things like that. So I knew that. So yeah. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction day. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast for the playlist. Check out the end cards. And yeah, I'll see you next time.